Chapter 1, Observing the Armies on the Battlefield of Kurukshetra. Dhritarashtra said, O Sanjaya, after my sons and the sons of Pandu assembled at the sacred place of Kurukshetra, ready to fight, what happened next? The Bhagavad Gita is a widely read theistic science summarized in the glorification of the Gita. It advises that one should read it carefully with the guidance of a devotee of Sri Krishna and strive to understand it without personal biases. Arjuna's clear understanding of the teaching in Bhagavad Gita serves as an example. If someone is fortunate enough to comprehend Bhagavad Gita in this way, following the line of disciplic succession without misinterpretation, they surpass all other studies of Vedic wisdom and all other scriptures in the world. In Bhagavad Gita, one can find the contents of other scriptures, but also unique insights not found elsewhere. This is because it is a theistic science directly spoken by Lord Sri Krishna. The discussions between Dhritarashtra and Sanjaya in the Mahabharata provide the foundation for this profound philosophy. This philosophy originated on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, a sacred pilgrimage site from the ancient Vedic era. It was presented by Lord Krishna himself when he was physically present on earth to guide humanity. The term Dharmakshetra, a place for religious rituals, is significant because on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, the Supreme Personality of Godhead stood with Arjuna. Dhritarashtra, the father of the Kuru dynasty, had serious doubts about the victory of his sons. He asked his secretary Sanjaya about their actions because he was certain that both his sons and his younger brother Pandu's sons had gathered in Kurukshetra for a decisive battle. He didn't desire a compromise between the cousins and wanted to know the fate of his sons on the battlefield. Dhritarashtra was apprehensive about the holy influence of Kurukshetra on the outcome of the battle, as it was considered a place of worship, even for heavenly beings. He feared the positive impact it might have on Arjuna and the sons of Pandu, who were naturally virtuous. Sanjaya, a student of Vyasa, had the ability to see the battlefield of Kurukshetra, even while in Dhritarashtra's room, due to Vyasa's grace. Thus, Dhritarashtra inquired about the battlefield situation from him. While both the Pandavas and the sons of Dhritarashtra belong to the same family, Dhritarashtra's partiality is evident. He referred to his sons as Kurush and distanced Pandu's sons from the family heritage. This reveals Dhritarashtra's specific perspective in his relationship with his nephews, Pandu's sons. This setting signifies that in the religious arena of Kurukshetra, the unwanted elements, represented by Dhritarashtra's son Duryodhana and others, would be removed, and true religion, established by Lord Sri Krishna and people like Yudhishthira, would prevail. This is the religious significance of the terms Dharmakshetra and Kurukshetra beyond their historical and Vedic importance. Text 2. Sanjaya said, O king, after observing the army formation of the Pandava sons, King Duryodhana went to his teacher and spoke these words. Dhritarashtra was blind since birth, and sadly, he lacked spiritual insight. He was aware that his sons also lacked a deep understanding of righteousness, and knew that they would never come to a peaceful agreement with the virtuous Pandavas. However, he was uncertain about the impact of the holy battlefield. Sanjaya understood his concern and wanted to reassure the despondent king. Sanjaya informed the king that his son, Duryodhana, upon seeing the Pandavas' military strength, promptly approached the commander-in-chief, Dronakarya, to brief him on the situation. Duryodhana, despite being a king, felt it necessary to consult the commander due to the gravity of the situation. This shows his political astuteness. However, his diplomatic demeanor couldn't hide the fear he felt when he witnessed the Pandavas' formidable army. Text 3. O teacher, look at the strong Pandava army, smartly organized by your bright student, Drupada's son. Duryodhana, a clever diplomat, wanted to point out the problems with Dronakarya, their chief commander who was a wise Brahmin. Dronakarya had a past feud with King Drupada, who was the father of Draupadi, Arjuna's wife. King Drupada performed a special ritual and got a blessing that his son could defeat Dronakarya. Even though Dronakarya knew this, he still taught all his military strategies to Drupada's son, Drishtadyumna, when he came for training. Now, on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Drishtadyumna was helping the Pandavas, and he organized their army following what he learned from Dronakarya. Duryodhana pointed out Dronakarya's mistake to remind him to be alert and tough in the battle. He also wanted to say that Dronakarya shouldn't be too kind when fighting against the Pandavas, who were his own students, especially Arjuna, who was his favorite and an exceptional learner. Duryodhana cautioned that being too gentle in battle would lead to defeat. Text 4. In this army, there are many strong archers who are as good at fighting as Bhima and Arjuna. Some of them are Yudhana, Virata, and Drupada. Duryodhana realized that although Drishtadyumna wasn't a major threat compared to Dronakarya, there were other warriors who were equally powerful. He listed some of them like Yudhana, Virata, and Drupada, and he saw them as significant obstacles to their victory because they were as skilled as Bhima and Arjuna. Text 5. There are also strong and heroic warriors like Drishtaketu, Chekitana, Kashiraja, Purujit, Kuntibhoja, and Shaibhaya. Text 6. You have the strong Udamanu, the powerful Uttamauja, the son of Subhadra, and the sons of Draupadi. All of them are skilled in fighting from chariots. Text 7. But, my dear wise one, let me tell you about the skilled leaders who are suitable to lead my army. Text 8. There are powerful warriors like you, Bhishma, Karna, Kripa, Ashvathama, Vikarna, and Bhurishrava, who are always successful in battles. Duryodhana mentions these exceptional heroes, including some of his allies and relatives, who are known for their prowess in battle. Text 9. There are many other brave warriors who are willing to sacrifice their lives for Duryodhana. They are skilled in using various weapons and are knowledgeable about military tactics. Some of them, like Jayadratha, Kritavarma, and Shalya, are determined to give their lives for Duryodhana's cause. In other words, they have already made up their minds to fight for Duryodhana, even though it may lead to their death. Duryodhana believed that with the support of all these powerful friends, he would surely win the battle of Kurukshetra. Text 10. Duryodhana believed that his army was immensely powerful and felt that grandfather Bhishma provided them with excellent protection. He considered his forces immeasurable, mainly due to the experienced leadership of Bhishma, who was a highly skilled general. In contrast, Duryodhana saw the Pandavas' strength as limited, with Bhima, a less experienced general, in charge. Duryodhana harbored envy toward Bhima because he knew that if anyone could defeat him, it would be Bhima. However, he was confident in his victory due to the superior leadership of Bhishma, who was an outstanding general. Duryodhana was convinced that he would emerge victorious in the battle because of his immeasurable strength, and the protective presence of the highly skilled Bhishma. Text 11. Duryodhana praised grandfather Bhishma's valor but also wanted to make sure others didn't feel overlooked. He emphasized that Bhishma was the greatest hero, but being elderly, he needed protection from all sides. Duryodhana urged everyone to stand at their designated positions in the army formation to prevent any openings in their defense. He believed that the Kurush victory depended on Bhishma's presence and was confident of his and Dronakarya's full support. He recalled how these generals remained silent when Draupadi sought their help in the past, hoping they would abandon any affection for the Pandavas, just as they did during the gambling events. Then Bhishma, the great and valiant grandfather of the Kuru dynasty, the leader of the fighters, blew his conch shell loudly, resembling the roar of a lion, which brought joy to Duryodhana. Bhishma, understanding Duryodhana's inner thoughts, tried to encourage him by blowing his conch shell with great vigor, symbolizing his role as a formidable leader. In a roundabout way, he conveyed to his despondent grandson, Duryodhana, that victory in the battle was unlikely because Lord Krishna was supporting the other side. Nevertheless, it was Bhishma's duty to carry out the fight, and he was fully committed to doing so. Afterward, a cacophony of conch shells, drums, bugles, trumpets, and horns resounded all at once, creating a deafening noise. On the opposing side, Lord Krishna and Arjuna, riding a magnificent chariot drawn by white horses, blew their divine conch shells. In contrast to Bhishma's conch shell, the conch shells in the hands of Krishna and Arjuna are described as transcendental, signifying their divine nature. The sound of these conch shells signaled that there was little hope of victory for the other side because Krishna was supporting the Pandavas. It is said that wherever Lord Krishna is present, victory and fortune follow, as the goddess of fortune, his eternal consort, accompanies him. Thus, Arjuna was destined for victory, as indicated by the transcendent sound of Lord Vishnu's conch shell, which represented Lord Krishna. Additionally, the chariot they rode, a gift from the fire god Agni, was so powerful that it could conquer all sides across the three worlds. In this verse, Lord Krishna is called Hrishikesha, which means the master of the senses. This title emphasizes that he controls all senses because all living beings are a part of him, and their senses are derived from his. Those who follow an impersonal understanding of God cannot account for the individual senses of living beings, and often describe them as senseless or impersonal. However, the Lord, who resides in the hearts of all living entities, guides their senses based on their surrender to him. In the case of pure devotees, he directly manages their senses. On the battlefield of Kurukshetra, the Lord directly guided and controlled Arjuna's transcendental senses, earning him the name Hrishikesha. The Lord possesses various names that reflect his different divine activities. For instance, he is called Madhusudana because he vanquished the demon Madhu, Govinda because he delights the cows and all beings, Vasudeva because he is the son of Vasudeva, and Devaki Nandana because he accepted Devaki as his mother. He is also known as Yashodanandana due to his childhood pastimes in Vrindavan and Partha Sarathi, because he served as Arjuna's charioteer on the battlefield. Hrishikesha is a name given to him here because he provided guidance to Arjuna during the Kurukshetra battle. Arjuna is called Dhananjaya in this verse because he once helped his elder brother collect wealth required for the king's sacrificial expenditures. Bhima is known as Vrikadara because of his voracious appetite and immense strength, demonstrated when he defeated the demon Hidimba. The conch shells blown by various personalities on the Pandava side, starting with the lords, motivated and uplifted the spirits of the soldiers in the battle. Conversely, the Kaurava side lacked such divine presence and blessings, and their fate of losing the battle was sealed. This message was conveyed through the sounds of the conch shells. King Yudhishthira, Kunti's son, blew a conch called Anantavijaya. Nakula and Sahadeva blew theirs, known as Sugoa and Maipupaka. The brave king of Kashi, Sikai, Dadyumna, Virata, Satyaki, Drupada, Draupadi's sons, and the strong-armed son of Subhadra, all blew their conch shells too. Sajaya explained to King Dhritarashtra that his ill-advised plan of deceiving the sons of Pandu and trying to secure the throne for his sons was unwise. The evident signs already indicated that the entire Kuru dynasty was destined for destruction in this great battle. Everyone, from the respected elder Bhishma to the younger generation like Abhimanyu, along with kings from various regions, were present there, and they were all headed for a tragic fate. The responsibility for this impending catastrophe rested on King Dhritarashtra because he supported his son's actions. The sound of these various conch shells reverberated loudly, shaking both the skies and the earth, striking fear into the hearts of Dhritarashtra's sons. When Bhisma and the others on Duryodhana's side blew their conch shells, there is no mention of the Pandavas' hearts being troubled. This is because the Pandavas had great faith in Lord Krishna. Those who take refuge in the Supreme Lord have nothing to fear, even in the face of the most significant calamity. At that moment, Arjuna, the son of Pandu, seated in a chariot with a flag bearing Hanuman's symbol, picked up his bow and prepared to shoot his arrows. When he saw the sons of Dhritarashtra arranged for battle, Arjuna spoke these words to Lord Krishna. The battle was about to commence, and it's evident that the sons of Dhritarashtra were disheartened by the unexpected military arrangement of the Pandavas. They were following Lord Krishna's direct guidance on the battlefield. The emblem of Hanuman on Arjuna's flag was a sign of victory because Hanuman had helped Lord Rama in defeating Ravana. Now, both Rama and Hanuman were present on Arjuna's chariot to assist him. Lord Krishna is Lord Rama himself, and wherever Lord Rama is, his eternal devotee Hanuman, and his eternal consort Sita, the goddess of fortune, are also present. Therefore, Arjuna had no reason to fear any enemies. Moreover, the Lord of the senses, Lord Krishna, was personally there to provide guidance. In these favorable circumstances arranged by the Lord for his eternal devotee, lay the signs of certain victory. Arjuna requested, "O infallible one, please position my chariot between the two armies so that I can see those gathered here, ready for battle. I want to know with whom I must engage in this great trial of arms." Even though Lord Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, he, out of his causeless mercy, was fulfilling the role of Arjuna's charioteer. His unwavering commitment to serving his devotee is why he is referred to as O infallible here. While he was serving as Arjuna's charioteer, his supreme position was not compromised. In all situations, he remains the supreme personality of Godhead, Hrishikesha, the Lord of all senses. The relationship between the Lord and his devotee is profoundly transcendental. The devotee is always eager to serve the Lord, and the Lord is equally eager to serve his devotee. He finds greater joy in being directed by his pure devotee than in directing. Despite being the master, he willingly accepts the role of servant when his pure devotee assumes the position of commander. Such a relationship gives him immense pleasure, although he is the unfailing master of all situations. Arjuna, as a pure devotee of the Lord, had no desire to fight against his own kin and siblings. However, he was compelled to enter the battlefield due to Duryodhana's stubbornness, as he never agreed to any peaceful negotiations. Arjuna wanted to identify the prominent figures present on the battlefield. Even though there was no chance of making peace in that battle, Arjuna wished to assess the intentions of those gathered there and ascertain their readiness for an unwanted war. Arjuna said, "Let me see those who have assembled here to fight, seeking to support the wicked-minded son of Dhritarashtra." It was no secret that Duryodhana aimed to seize the Pandavas' kingdom through deceitful means, in alliance with his father, Dhritarashtra. So, those who had joined Duryodhana's side were likely of the same disposition. Arjuna wanted to get a look at them on the battlefield, not to initiate peace talks, but to identify them and gauge the strength he was up against. However, he was fully confident of victory because Lord Krishna was by his side. Sanjaya continued his narration, saying, Arjuna, addressing Lord Krishna as a descendant of Bharata, skillfully positioned their magnificent chariot in the midst of the two opposing armies. At that moment, Arjuna was known as Ugwakina, signifying his ability to conquer sleep and ignorance. This special name highlights his unwavering devotion to Krishna, where he couldn't help but think of Krishna's name, form, qualities, and pastimes constantly, whether he was awake or asleep. This state of constant absorption in Krishna, referred to as a Krishna consciousness or samadhi, helped Arjuna overcome sleep and ignorance. Lord Krishna, who is the master of all senses and minds, could fully grasp Arjuna's intent behind positioning the chariot in this way, and he responded accordingly. In the midst of renowned leaders like Bhenma and Drona, Lord Krishna, as the supersoul of all living beings, could perceive Arjuna's innermost thoughts. Using the name Hanakeka, which signifies his omniscience, he made it clear that he understood everything. Then, addressing Arjuna as Partha, referring to his lineage as the son of Kunt, Lord Krishna, as a friend, wanted to convey a light-hearted message. He playfully suggested, Arjuna, take a look at all the Kuru warriors gathered here. He didn't expect Arjuna to halt the impending battle. Krishna's words were a friendly jest, as he knew that Arjuna, being the son of his aunt Kunt, would not consider such an idea. In the middle of the two armies, Arjuna could see his family, teachers, friends, and many others gathered for battle. This included his father, grandfathers, teachers, uncles, brothers, sons, friends, and well-wishers. There were many on both sides who were familiar to him. Seeing his loved ones and friends ready to fight against each other, Arjuna felt a deep sense of compassion. His body trembled, and his mouth became dry. Arjuna's genuine devotion to the Lord gave him virtuous qualities. He was deeply moved, not just for his own soldiers, but also for the opposing soldiers who were his own kinsmen. This shows that true devotees of the Lord are compassionate and caring, extending their concern beyond their own group. It's important to understand that Arjuna's emotional response was not a sign of weakness. It came from his kind-hearted nature as a devoted servant of the Lord. The lesson here is that genuine devotees of the Lord possess divine qualities and show compassion to all living beings, irrespective of whether they are friends or foes. In contrast, those without devotion may have material qualifications but lack these deeper virtues, as they are entangled in the material world's attractions. My whole body is trembling, my hair is standing on end, my bow Gandiva is slipping from my hand, and my skin is burning. There are two kinds of trembling of the body, and two kinds of standings of the hair on end. Such phenomena occur either in great spiritual ecstasy or out of great fear under material conditions. There is no fear in transcendental realization. Arjuna's symptoms in this situation are out of material fear, namely, loss of life. This is evident from other symptoms also. He became so impatient that his famous bow Gandiva was slipping from his hands, and, because his heart was burning within him, he was feeling a burning sensation of the skin. All these are due to a material conception of life. I can't stay here any longer. I'm losing myself, and my mind is in chaos. I see only reasons for trouble, O Krishna, the one who defeated the demon Kesha. Due to his impatience, Arjuna couldn't remain on the battlefield, and he was losing himself due to his mental weakness. Excessive attachment to material things puts a person in a bewildering state of existence. According to the Bhagavad Gita, fear and a loss of mental equilibrium occur in individuals who are too affected by material conditions. Arjuna could only see negative outcomes in the battlefield. He wouldn't even find happiness in winning over the enemy. The words nimitani viparitani are significant. When a person sees only frustration in their expectations, they may think, why am I here? People are generally concerned about their well-being. Nobody is really interested in the Supreme Self. Arjuna, influenced by his own desires, was showing a lack of understanding of his true self-interest according to Krishna's desire. A person's true self-interest lies in Vishnu, or Krishna. However, conditioned souls often forget this, and as a result, they experience material suffering. Arjuna believed that winning the battle would only bring him sorrow. I don't see any good in killing my own family members in this battle, my dear Krishna. I don't desire victory, a kingdom, or any happiness that may follow. People who don't realize that their true well-being is in Krishna or Vishnu get caught up in bodily relationships, hoping to find happiness in those situations. In this narrow view of life, they forget even the sources of material happiness. Arjuna seems to have forgotten the moral duties of a warrior. It is said that two types of people, the warrior who dies on the battlefield following Krishna's orders and the renunciant who is wholly dedicated to spiritual growth, can enter the powerful and radiant realm of the sun. Arjuna is reluctant to fight his enemies, let alone his own family. He believes that killing his relatives will bring him no happiness, so he is unwilling to fight. It's like a person who isn't hungry not wanting to cook. Arjuna is now thinking of going into the forest to live a life of solitude and frustration. But as a warrior, he needs a kingdom for his livelihood because warriors can't engage in other professions. The only way for Arjuna to have a kingdom is to fight against his cousins and brothers to regain the kingdom he inherited from his father, which he doesn't want to do. So, he considers living in the forest in isolation as his best option. Arjuna calls Lord Krishna Govinda because Krishna is the source of pleasure for cows and all living beings. Using this word, Arjuna suggests that Krishna should understand what will satisfy his senses. However, Govinda is not meant for indulging our senses. When we aim to gratify Govinda's senses, our own senses are naturally fulfilled. People usually want God to cater to their sensual desires. The Lord will indeed satisfy the senses of living beings to the extent they deserve, but not as much as they may covet. When someone takes the opposite approach, trying to please Govinda's senses without desiring satisfaction for their own senses, all the desires of that individual are fulfilled by Govinda. Arjuna's deep affection for his family and community is partly due to his natural compassion for them. This is why he is unwilling to fight. Everyone wishes to display their opulence to friends and family, but Arjuna is concerned that all his loved ones will die in the battle and he won't be able to share his success with them. This is a typical material calculation. In a transcendent life, things are different. A devotee seeks to fulfill the desires of the Lord. If the Lord is willing, the devotee can accept all kinds of opulence for the service of the Lord. However, if the Lord is not willing, the devotee shouldn't accept even a penny. Arjuna didn't want to harm his relatives. If it was necessary to defeat them, he wanted Krishna to do it personally. At that point, Arjuna didn't know that Krishna had already arranged for their demise before the battle, and he was to be an instrument in this plan. The Lord was resolute in eliminating the wrongdoers, while Arjuna preferred to pardon them as a devoted servant of the Lord. However, the Lord does not tolerate anyone harming his devotees, even if the devotee forgives. According to Vedic rules, there are 6 types of aggressors: 1. Someone who poisons; 2. One who sets fire to a home; 3. Someone who attacks with deadly weapons; 4. A robber; 5. One who seizes another's land; and 6. A kidnapper. In these cases, it's not a sin to kill them, and they should be eliminated without hesitation. Ordinary people can rightly act in this way, but Arjuna wasn't an ordinary man. He was a person of great moral character, and he wanted to deal with these aggressors righteously. However, this sort of righteousness doesn't suit a warrior. A responsible administrator of a state must be virtuous, but also courageous. For example, Lord Rama was a very virtuous king, and people today still wish for a kingdom like Lord Rama's. Yet, he didn't show any cowardice. When Ravana, an aggressor, kidnapped Lord Rama's wife, Sita, Lord Rama didn't hesitate to give him a fitting lesson. In Arjuna's situation, he faced a unique set of aggressors: his own family members, his teacher, friends, sons, and grandsons. Because of his attachment to them, Arjuna hesitated to take the harsh actions usually necessary against ordinary aggressors. Additionally, spiritual teachings often emphasize forgiveness. Arjuna thought that it was more important to spare his kinsmen, based on religious and virtuous principles, rather than kill them for political reasons. Arjuna believed that risking his life and eternal salvation for temporary political power and pleasures was not worth it. Arjuna also addressed Krishna as Madhava, the husband of the goddess of fortune, to suggest that Krishna, as the husband of the goddess of fortune, should not lead him into a situation that could bring misfortune. However, Krishna always acts for the welfare of his devotees and doesn't bring misfortune upon them. A warrior is expected to respond to challenges like battles and competitions. Arjuna couldn't decline to fight because he had been challenged by Duryodhana's party. Arjuna felt that the other party might not fully understand the dire consequences of this challenge. However, Arjuna saw the potential harmful effects and couldn't accept the challenge. When an action leads to negative outcomes, it's not obligatory. Considering all these factors, Arjuna decided not to fight. The destruction of a family's traditions leads to the decline of their eternal values, causing the remaining family members to deviate from their religious practices. The Varnashrama system has principles and religious traditions to guide family members toward spiritual growth, from birth to death. Elder family members are responsible for these purification processes. However, when the elders pass away, the family traditions may cease, and the younger family members could develop irreligious habits, putting their spiritual salvation at risk. Therefore, Arjuna believed that the elders should not be killed under any circumstances. A healthy human society is built on the foundation of good character and moral values. The Varnashrama religious principles aim to ensure a righteous and virtuous society, promoting spiritual progress for both the individual and the community. The purity and faithfulness of women are crucial for this. Both children and women need protection from the elder family members. Engaging women in various religious practices keeps them away from immoral activities like adultery. Karkyapita stated that women are generally less intelligent and thus less reliable. Engaging women in religious activities ensures their chastity and devotion, fostering a righteous population capable of participating in the Varnashrama system. If the Varnashrama system fails, women might engage in adulterous relationships, leading to an unwanted increase in the population. Irresponsible men who promote adultery also contribute to these societal problems, resulting in unnecessary conflict and diseases. In the system of performing fruitive activities, there is a need to offer periodic food and water to one's forefathers. This offering is made through the worship of Vayu, as consuming the remnants of food offered to Vayu can absolve one of various sinful actions. At times, forefathers might be suffering from different sinful reactions, and some of them may exist in subtle bodies as ghosts, unable to obtain a physical body. When descendants offer the remnants of prasadam to their forefathers, it helps release them from a ghostly or miserable existence. This is a family tradition, and those not engaged in devotional life are required to perform these rituals. However, those who practice devotional service can free their forefathers from suffering simply by rendering devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As stated in the Bhagavatam, one who has taken shelter of Mukunda's lotus feet, the giver of liberation, and has embraced the path with utmost seriousness, owes no duties or obligations to demigods, sages, general living entities, family members, humankind, or forefathers. Such responsibilities are automatically fulfilled through the performance of devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Community projects, in line with the timeless principles of Varnashrama Dharma, are meant to guide all sections of human society towards their ultimate salvation. When irresponsible leaders break these age-old traditions, it leads to disorder in society, causing people to lose sight of the ultimate goal, which is attaining Vayu, the Supreme Lord. Such leaders are referred to as blind, and those who follow them are inevitably led into confusion. Arjuna isn't forming his argument based on personal experiences, but rather relies on the wisdom passed down by authoritative figures. This is how genuine knowledge is gained. The Varnashrama institution has a process of atonement, meant for those who have engaged in sinful activities, to undergo before death. If one persistently engages in sinful actions without atoning for them, they will end up in hellish realms, leading lives full of suffering due to their transgressions. Driven by selfish desires, individuals might resort to unspeakable acts such as harming their own family members. Instances of such cruelty can be found throughout history. Arjuna, however, is a pious devotee of the Lord who always upholds moral principles, steering clear of such deeds. In accordance with the principles of righteous warfare, an unarmed and unwilling adversary should not be attacked. Arjuna's compassionate nature, due to his profound devotion to the Lord, makes him decide not to engage in combat even if provoked by the enemy. He doesn't consider the intensity of the other party's determination to fight. These qualities, stemming from his devotion, reflect his compassionate and soft-hearted character. Observing the enemy's situation, Arjuna briefly stands up in his chariot, but grief overwhelms him, and he sits back down, laying aside his bow and arrows. Such a kind and tender-hearted person, dedicated to the Lord's service, is deemed worthy of acquiring self-knowledge. This concludes the purports to the first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita with Macron, which focuses on observing the armies on the battlefield of Kurukshetra.